got it. Yes.
Hello, hello. How are you?
What about you?
I'm good. I'm just getting out of work maybe like 2 hours ago, so I'm just getting ready and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like 4 o'clock here at my time, so I'm assuming it's like 1:30 for you guys.
1:30. Yeah, it's 1:30 a.m. right now.
So that's how much of a time difference is that? That's like what, 7 hours difference maybe?
Yeah, about 7 hours. 7 or 8. Because around 7:30, seven and a half.
Okay, okay, awesome, awesome. So pretty much how's your week? Yeah, sorry, how has your week been?
It's been a little hectic, like all of the studies and classes and all stuff. For me, it's been like all that
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So is it gonna be just you and me today, or is the other person joining you as well?
Ayaga would join from her own account. Like, I have to check with her again because she might be driving it at this point of time.
Hmm. Okay,
She told
okay.
me
So I
that at
guess
this point of time, yeah, she might be driving. So I have to check with her because she hasn't responded to my messages yet.
all right, no problem. So if anything, maybe like hopefully she'll join us, during by the time she's ready and stuff like that. So I guess we'll just get right to it. So I guess my first question is, how did House of Words begin? What was the inspiration behind it?
Okay, so like House of Words is not like it's not something I would say that the first thing that came into my mind. Like firstly, it started with the writeristic heart. If you ask me about the parent of the House of Words, it was the writeristic heart, and it began around 3 years ago. So, like, I started my writing, and like, I started writing, and I saw that the Instagram writers need some support that like they don't have right now. That at that point of time, writers community was not that big because it was just the beginning of the COVID season, and people were about to post their content. They were posting and all stuff. So I began with Writeristic Hut, and the motto of Writeristic Hut was to bring writers to all the platforms of the
Hmm.
of whatever social media is there. So Instagram started with Instagram, and then this House of Words came as a podcast we have. So like it's a
Okay.
long journey right now. Like we'll go forward and build up more things, and more stuffs are going to be there. So we are waiting for that thing.
No, no, it makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I guess you could say this is kind of how my platform began too. It's interesting because my platform became it was a community page, and then it was a community page that had a podcast in it. That's pretty much how it began.
Oh,
We went through a lot of rebranding phases, and eventually it led to Unraveled Influence. But there's a history behind it, and what it all comes down to is everybody has a story to tell, no matter what background, no matter what part of the world you're from. Everyone has a story to tell. Why do only celebrities get to tell the stories? We have stories too. Why can't we share our life? Why can't we share stories to inspire others? So that was also the journey to what Unraveled Influence is. So what was the process like in the creation of House of Words? Was it something that was like, okay, let's just do it and that's it, or was there like a discussion? Like, how did you pick your team, and what was like? Explain to me. What does that look like for you?
okay. So the process was like, as I told you before, that everything is planned basically right now. So although it's been a little delayed up according to my schedule, but from Writeristic Hut, we took a step to House of Words, and this was like, okay, let's see what's trending. What is what people seeing or people basically will come to. And what I saw was poetry while reading, just reading on your own. Like you have a poem of somebody and you are reading on yourself. It doesn't make out the feelings of what the
Mm,
poet actually wrote. You don't know what is the feelings and how he wants or she wants to portray himself. So podcast gave us another reason to express the feelings of the poet, what they wrote, and we came together with all of the hosts. I asked because the Writeristic Hut has a good amount of audience right now. So I asked my audience that if anybody is interested with doing a podcast, or because podcast is something like I am providing writers their own platform for coming together and hosting a show of their own. So initially we had a lot of hosts. Many people came together because it was a COVID season and people were free that time. And like after that time it ended up to only 3 to 4 hosts, but yeah, so this was a process that we ended up with who is interested to become a host and who has this potential to do this, who wants to who has some ideas. Basically we were taking up with
Right.
ideas, mixing ideas and preparing a draft. And it was not actually, to be honest, if I have to tell you, that it was not just a one click or one one day's work. It was a research, like where to post the, how to create a podcast, where to post everything, how to
Right.
come up with a host, make the schedules on whatever days they want to be, they are free and they can record and put up their stuff. So it was a whole lot of, and planning the podcast, especially planning how you are portraying or how they have to put up all these poems they are reading in a schedule. So like the process was a bit long because this was a planning on how to do how to do it. We were imagining it, but how to do it? Like I had 5 people in my team who were doing this thing of thinking that how to make this podcast, how this podcast should turn up to be. So that's how it was a this was the process of having this podcast.
Okay. And I guess my next question is also is with this podcast, how do you feel the direction has gone? Do you believe the direction is going where you wanted it to be?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, what the since you've done the podcast, you created House of Words. My question was, do you believe that the direction of the podcast is where you want it to be, or do you believe that the direction still needs to get there?
Like you cannot, it's like you cannot always see, because we ask for more, like we want more. Once you start something, it's like you want more, you want something more to be added, you see people doing stuff. So it's like it was a small idea. First it was like we'll read only poems, then it got large enough. So basically the ideas and the direction of the podcast was changing and was dynamic. Basically, if I have to give it a
Mm,
word, the direction of this podcast was completely dynamic. So first we started with only reading the poems. Then we came up with the idea of why not we pull out the essence, why not we tell them that this is what the poem meant. Then we shifted to relating the poems with, with the life, with people, whoever, with the surroundings and all. And now it's like, now today the podcast is for every artist, about the
okay.
around the world. Every artist, they can come up, they can show what they want, like they can, right now Ayaka, if I have to tell you, Ayaka is being a bit diverse today in her
Right.
shows. Earlier, she started with poetry. Now she's doing movie reviews, basically reviews of all the content that is latest, and then she's also doing interviews and all. And me myself, I'm relating poems with like basically a theme, like relationships, how relationships should be, and people are giving me poems. So basically, the direction is dynamic, so it's changing every minute. Actually, if I have to give you a thought.
No, no, that no, actually that's a great answer. I definitely agree. I think one of the biggest things about doing what you do and doing what I do, because like I was, but like I said in the past too, the what we do this platform, Unraveled Influence. It's a podcast platform that also provides a space for, like, say, people like yourself and other forms of art, whether it's music or poetry or painting or sculpting, whatever it is, right? Because again, there's a story that needs to be told. And I think the biggest importance you said was relationship. That's very important because anybody can say, okay, hey, let's have a conversation. But I feel like building that relationship and that trust in order for them to be vulnerable with you in that way, I think is very, very important, you know? And I think it's awesome what you did. Like you were talking about how it started off one way, but then little by little it was transitioning to what
Yeah.
it is today. So, what is there a particular community that inspired this? Like, is there one in particular that made you feel like, hey, maybe you want, maybe this is the place? Like, can you describe me that exact day where you got, okay, I'm gonna launch House of Words? Like, can you describe that to me?
Like the community was obviously writers community, as I told you. We started with the writers itself. So writers were the writers is still late. Writers is the main, niche of our podcast itself. We
Okay,
like we are like community as in because writers community is the niche for our this thing. Because writers, if you see literature, this till this day literature is like, till when do you study literature, like till your graduation, or basically not even graduation, till your high schools. If you if I tell you that, then after that, where is literature until and unless you pursue it as a as a profession? Nobody is uh, nobody is actually into literature so much. Like they are mostly focusing over their career or other things. So mixing writing with some sort of relaxation. This was the community that influenced the coming up of this podcast.
right, right, right. And then I wanted to ask you because you said I was listening. I'm trying to absorb everything you're saying, and you mentioned diversity. And I guess my question is, with the diversity that you have been able to build, can you name a few things that the diversity has taught you, as not just as someone that's hosting the podcast, but also as a person? Like, has it made you see life differently because of this diversity?
Um, like, see, diversity is there because what should I say, that like we want to reach out to each and every person in the community, or basically in wherever we are living. We want to spread our word. Like that's what diversity brings in, right? That because of the diversity, it's like we are reaching out to every year who is like, how should I tell you? Like I'm not getting the exact sentence about that, but bringing diversity is bringing more people to us, bringing more
Okay.
people to literature. So because we are mixing literature with the surrounding, with diversity, with whatever we see, we are able to, bringing more people to connect with literature. So that's why diversity. That's how the concept of diversity was like finally came into my head, that we should be having all type of artists, all type of people, because what inspires art is like another art, right? If you see wherever you are working, basically, like if you have an art like a drawing or a painting or something like that as your hobby, what if writing inspires that? Somebody's words, somebody's like thoughts inspire you to become basically draw something. So you know that's why it's like diverse, so that artists from all over the place can come up, can be inspired with all this, because we have a lot of series which in our podcast, like there are a lot of series in our podcast. So All the series basically inspire to one particular thing, that is art. So that's why diversity.
Okay. No, no, that's a great. That's awesome. I think that's amazing what you're talking about too, because like I said, it's very important. I wanted, so I think I'm trying to think too, because so everything you're saying is so spot on. So as far as, oh man, I'm sorry, 'cause I lost my train of thought for a second, so I really apologize for that. But one
It's
comment, actually, I'm gonna read some of the comments here. It says we inspire each other with our gifts. I definitely agree with that. As far as inspiring each other. So I guess my question now is, what do you hope for? Like, let's say, like, what do you hope for to achieve in this podcast, or just even the community itself? Like, what do you hope to achieve with this? And yeah, so what do you hope for this to come out of, if that makes sense?
uh like something that comes out of this podcast is like, basically, first of all, it's a very genuine thing that we want to be there at the top. Out of this podcast, we want to be there at the top. And being at the top is like, we being at the top is like, all the writers that are with us, that are at our back, are on the top because people are hearing to them. So out of this podcast, all I want is that whoever listens to us, whoever listens to House of Words, listens to what we say, basically.
Right,
What we say is writers' words, artists' words, people that inspire you, that build your morale, basically, that motivates you to like do whatever you pursue, because art is what you want to pursue. It's like your hobby, or it's like your something that is your escape itself. So through this, the only thing I want to, I want to come, like, that wants to come out from my head is like, people get inspired, people get motivated to do what they want. Like,
right,
because there are people around the world, they are doing it. Not as a profession, but as a hobby itself. They are
right,
doing it.
right.
Like,
No, and that's good. That's definitely important. Just real quick, if you're just joining us, I'm interviewing the platform House of Words. For those who don't know who you are, just quickly like remind everybody who you are, what's your name, where you're from, and all this stuff. For those who just joining us now.
okay, so I'm Anamika, and I am the person who is right now running House of Words, and it's like with Ayaka, I am doing this. And Ayaka, I am supposedly like, she's busy or she's driving basically, so she can't come. But Ayaka is another writer who joined me in this endeavor, like permanently, I guess. So you are listening to me, and you can listen to me anywhere on your Spotify and Google Podcast on House of Words. So you can find me everywhere, basically.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Um, well, because you answered. I had other questions too, but you've answered a lot of my questions, so I'm kind of like, oh snap. Okay. Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you about culture because, like, what? Okay. So, so all right. So, if you were to compare the culture you've interacted with compared to the culture that you lived in, what would you say is the biggest similarity, and what would you say is the biggest difference between the two? I don't know if that makes sense. The question makes sense.
Like, if you ask me the biggest similarity between two cultures, like moving from my place,
Like,
moving
let's
from
say,
India.
yeah, so like for example, like because the culture is like what your surrounding is, right? So compared to
Hmm.
what you're used to, compared to what you experience on Instagram and doing your podcast, what would you say would be a similarity, and what would you say would be the biggest difference? But yeah, but for the most part, what would you say? Let's start with the similarities. What would you say is the biggest similarity in your eyes?
See, similarity in my eyes is people. Like, I myself, if you ask me, I am a people's person. Like, where I am somebody who wants to know everybody's perspective, what they are thinking. So moving from Instagram, moving from anywhere around the world, anywhere, if you ask me, the only similar thing is people, because I enjoy knowing about people, and you know ev- like people from Instagram are there outside, people from Instagram are the on any platform or anywhere, and
Right,
everybody almost have a similar ideology. If you jump from one person to another, they have a similar ideology with a little twist of their own. And if you jump to another person, they might have a different ideology, but it would be something there only, because you know we are what we learn from the surrounding, what we get from around our culture, and Earth is round. So wherever you end up, it's like you just go around the circumference, and it's just same point you'll end up. You'll just move round and round and round and round. There is
right,
never not
right.
an ending point to it. So one only similarity I find everywhere is people.
Okay. No, and I think that's great what you're saying. It's the same thing with Unraveled Influence too, especially with me. Again, I've been doing this since 2019, 2020. So again, I've been through a lot of changes in this platform. But one key thing, and you said it, is people, right? Because I know for me personally, and I was talking about it yesterday because I went live with Inspiration Poet, and I was asked like, what is it about people that I like? The thing with me
Hmm.
is, see, my childhood was not a good childhood. I didn't really have a good life
Okay.
like that growing up. And for me, well, as I got older, as I started to experience life, I didn't have anyone to really like sit down with me and really talk to me about life. And even though I had a father, I had a brother and a sister and a mom, I didn't have that father figure or that brother figure to kind of guide me through life. Me being the black sheep of the family. So by the time I was in my 20s, I had to learn these things on my own. And I went through a lot of hardship with no explanation. I was exposed to things that I really didn't understand. But one of the biggest things for me personally, I really believe is, how would I want someone to treat me, right? Because I've I've had the unfortunate circumstances of when people genuinely did care about me.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I've hurt a lot of people by pushing them away, but that's because I really didn't understand what true companionship was. I didn't know what love really was, because growing up, I don't want to say there was no love. It was like a lot of tough love. There was a lot of verbal abuse, especially in Hispanic culture. That's just how it is. They're not really talking about emotions. And as I got older, one of the biggest things that I always told myself, you know what, like I want to try my best to be the best friend or the best person I can be for somebody, because this is how I would want to be treated. So especially, and one of the biggest things too, and I said was, I always believe that honesty is the best policy. And
True.
but then there's the unfortunate circumstances where sometimes honesty is not the best policy, and it's messed up because I feel like I shouldn't have to lie to you just to get you to be my friend, or whatever the case might be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't have to act a certain way or behave a certain way, because if I want to be real with you, we should accept each other the way we are, no matter what diversity we are, no matter what circumstances are around us. Because at the end of the day, we were able to build some kind of bond together just for us to get close like that. I'm not saying let's get very close, but let's get close enough that we can build this trust. And I think that's what's missing in society today, especially in the United States. And the reason why I asked you what I asked you earlier about culture was because one thing I've noticed since I started doing this, and I think it was very important, is it's given me perspective on life that I never saw
Hmm.
before, right? Because, we all talk about, like, especially in America, one thing everybody always talks about, oh, when am I going to get a break? Or how come the economy's messed up? Or whatever the case might be. But being this community has taught me personally that, as crazy as I might have it, there's always somebody else that's going to have it worse than me. There's always certain privileges that I actually have that no one else really has. And I feel like a lot of us in American culture is very ungrateful for that, because we have a lot of freedom where other places do not. And I think it's very interesting that, with this community and being on social media, One thing I'm very proud of is the fact that, okay, so catfishing is not everywhere, but there is true, genuine people out there that want to build community, whether it's through music, whether it's through poetry, or even just having a conversation just right now, you know? And the thing, I met you at random because you have Valerie live. No, you had Valerie
Hmm.
as a guest, and I just posted, oh, hey, you know, because that's just what we do in the poetry community. We say, hey, check this out. And that's what we platforms do. And then we just had the conversation. So, oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's definitely do something together. I mean, I never met you before. You never met me until now, but it's been a great conversation so far. And one of the key things that I think was very important about our conversation is we have a care and a love for people. We want to know the stories
Hmm.
because I wish someone would want to tell my story. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody gets the
Yeah.
opportunity to do that. You know, not everybody has that voice. If we could be the voice of
Yeah.
the voiceless, then I
Hmm.
think that's important, you know? And it's hard, you know, because, you know, one thing I can honestly say that's kind of been an unfortunate circumstance, you know, even though we want to let everybody in, we can't let everybody in too at the same time.
Hmm.
That's when we have to set the boundaries because sometimes when we don't realize it, sometimes people come into our lives for the wrong reasons, you know. And I can tell
Hmm.
like what you're doing and the conversation we had, you're doing it for the right reason. You do it because you genuinely
Hmm.
want to put stories out there, and I think that's awesome. So I definitely applaud you with that. Yeah, and like I said,
Like,
thank you for just saying
yeah.
yes. And
Like
yeah,
I am
no, I'm
stuck
sorry. Go
with.
ahead.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that I am still stuck at this point that you said that you learned everything yourself growing up. Like, I want to tell you that this is something, to be honest, this is pure. To be, like, it's something pure. You're not getting something from people around you. This is your own ideology. This is your own thoughts that are coming to you, and like you treat people the way you wanted to be treated. So that's a really good point. And you know that, let me tell you that if the best learning is that the learning you learn yourself. Like the lesson you learn yourself is the best learning, and actually you remember it till you die. You know, you and anybody who's there, like who's listening to us, like I just want to tell you that whatever you learn yourself, you are literally going to take it to your grave. I'm telling you, this is what happens to me. Like, just a little analogy, let me take it around this thing that imagine like you are being taught by your teacher and you don't get a concept on yourself, and then you come back home and you study it and you finally get it on your own. That thing, do you think that you remember till your exam? Yes, you do. Like you literally, whatever you derived on your own, you remember it till the end. So it's similarly with the life that whatever you build in, you, however you build your personality, that will stay with you till the end. So growing up like that is like a really good thing. You're teaching yourself. Like I'm somebody who brings out positive in whatever, if the circumstances are bad. So the positive thing you got from this was that you learned something from your, your own, and like it's amazing. It's really amazing. I wanted
No,
to point that
thank
out.
you. No, no, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think that's the thing too, you know, about life. You know, life's very
Hmm.
interesting, right? Because I feel like when life's trying to teach you a lesson, but when we don't
Hmm.
want to learn it, life would teach it for you, if that makes sense. And
Life is
sometimes
the best
it teaches,
teacher, actually.
yeah, and it teaches you in the harshest way. Because sometimes life doesn't care how you learn the lesson, but you're going to learn that lesson. But I think it only gets crazy when we're being too stubborn because we don't want to face that reality. But then it's like,
Hmm.
okay, no, but you have to learn that lesson because I look at life like there's different seasons, right? So if you want to go into the next season of your life, you can't really go to that next season until you go through that transitional season where you have to start letting go of things. You have to start legitimately realizing that, listen, I don't have this together. I need help. And that's the
Hmm.
problem sometimes with society today. Like sometimes just to say, hey, I need help, it makes us feel like we're weak. No, you're not weak because you're asking help. You're asking for help because you know what? You want a solution to an issue that you cannot have, that you cannot solve. And I think that's very important, you know. And I think the issue is we think that, oh, the minute we're vulnerable, then all of a sudden vulnerability is, it's like the ultimate sin, and it's not like that, you know. Sometimes we need to be in those places. I'm not saying we can't have walls to set boundaries, but you know, one thing I say about life is if your walls are too thick, the thicker the walls, the more stubborn you become, and the more stubborn you become, the more you hurt people and push people away, you know. And I think it's important to realize that, hey, we don't have it all together. And I think it's important that we legitimately just realize, hey, it's okay to ask for help, you know.
You know, you are always alone at the top. Actually, if you have to if you have to succeed in anything, there you won't find anybody with you like on your side, because when you are, it is like you said that you are pushing away people, you are pushing away people and all things. Same thing happens to me. Like if I tell you, like when I came to the college, like it was in 2020, I started college. So 2020 people were like so fab. Everybody was talking to everybody, and I had got many friends, many people to talk to, and I was like very proud that hey, I have a really big group of people. Like it's a very big. I'm one of the popular persons in the college and such. Today, if you ask me, I have nobody.
Wow.
Being being somebody who's friendly and who cares about people, I still have nobody. Like it's not that I don't talk to people. I talk to people and people do care about me. But somebody, if I have to say, like who will be there for my ups and my downs, like especially the downs. For parties, people come, of course, like I'm spending my money, they come for free things and all. But when I'm at my low, I'm just staying at my room and I'm crying. It's not about, it's nothing wrong about you. This is what I have learned with this. There's nothing wrong about you. It's like people around you, they don't, it's it's this century actually, if I have to say about. And people around you actually they would care about themselves rather than caring about you. There are
Yeah.
very rare people who care about the other person, who put other people are above themselves. So it's not you, it's them basically. And
Yeah.
moreover, it's like know uh, how should I frame this? When you are new, basically, you are new and people don't know about you at all. So you try to portray your best, and then with time, when you actually become yourself, then it's like people go away. Because you were the best in the beginning, and now you are like yourself. So that's the point. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you came alone to the world and you will die alone only. So
Yeah.
this is the fact I accepted, like, in this coming to college and all. So, and if you go and ask everybody around the college or anybody who's there around you itself, anybody and everybody will give the same answer that I am alone. There won't be a single person who would be saying that, yes, I have a lot of people. Everybody
Mm.
is crying alone in their rooms. You don't know what the problem is, you don't know anything. So, it's
Wow.
like that only. It's life actually.
Wow. Wow. No, that's deep what you said, and I think it's that alone time, that solitude, right? Because solitude could be good, but solitude could also be bad, right? Because when we're too alone for a long time, sometimes we
Hmm.
start doubting ourselves that, oh, why am I here in the first place type situation. The whole, because I struggle a lot with depression myself, where sometimes, even though yes, I have great things going for me, but there are times where I'll look back in my life and I'll tell myself, like how did I get here, right? Because I'm not saying I'm ungrateful, but I do find it hard to believe that this is really my life, right? Considering all the low self-esteem that I struggle with already, due to all the verbal abuse I faced growing up, that, I was always told, oh, you're not going to do this, or you can't do that, don't do this and don't do that, and all this other stuff. And it's interesting how I was able to overcome that, but then there's still certain stigmas of the hurt that I still struggle with to this day, that sometimes I even put myself down. And one of the biggest, I think, one of the there's a saying that says, we are our own worst enemy, or we are our own worst critic sometimes, because people could tell you to, and I think the harsh reality I have to face is, you can tell me that I'm a great friend until you're blue in the face, but if I don't start to believe it, then I'm going to continue doubting myself. And the more you doubt yourself, the more you're gonna really push those people away from you, because like they're just trying to cheer you on to lift you up, but we're the ones that lift ourselves down, right? But then the problem is, when we lift ourselves down, sometimes we don't realize we drag other people with us, and then they're down when we never meant to do that on purpose. And that's the thing too. So I really believe that if we do hurt people, I don't think we really truly hurt them on purpose, if that makes sense. I don't think we mean to be like that. I think we don't realize that we're doing that. And I think that's a really harsh reality to face too, because when I look back at my life, all the people I've hurt, and again, a lot of them were very unintentional. I didn't realize at the time, but I realize now, like, damn, like I never meant for that to happen. But that's when me being a man, and us men, we're very prideful people. Very prideful.
Agree.
We are not always going to be the one to admit, vulnerability, or just admitting that, hey, this is what I'm going through, right? Because when my parents were growing up, they grew up in a surrounding where that wasn't even a topic. Mental health wasn't even a topic. I grew up at a time where, mental health, like, became a topic, like it was bringing awareness, but we weren't allowed to talk about it. That's the time that I grew up in. Anything before after my generation, now, there's awareness now, but there's things being done about it. Where when I was the younger, like when I was the age of the younger generation, that we weren't allowed to talk about that, especially Hispanic culture. We're not allowed to talk about that. Oh no, that doesn't exist. What are you talking about? That's like my father say, oh, that's white people crap. I'm like, no, that's life. But my parents, that's just how it was in Hispanic culture. Whatever happens out there cannot happen to them. And that's a very messed up perception, because you can't think like that. Because even though you could try to prevent your kids from going through stuff, but they're going to be exposed to things that you cannot prevent.
True.
So
Like,
yeah.
it's like, one thing you said, that is still there in my head, is that, I agree with your statement that songs is not good every time. But I'm not saying that you have to be alone. Like, but what I had in one of the interviews I took of one of the person. It's like, her name is Soumya. So what Soumya taught me after her, when we talked, it was like she told me the importance of self love. You know, the doubting thing you said, the doubting part you said, that there occurs a self doubt, that why people are not there with me and all sorts. The only thing that bucks me up with is that I have myself with me, and when you look into the mirror, like when you look into the mirror, you have to love yourself. You don't have to doubt yourself that why people are not around me, why, what is there something wrong in me. Like, people do a lot of shaming. There are a lot of things people say. People will tell you something, or people will say something to you. But if you know how you are, and if you know what you are, then that thought of self doubt never comes. This thing I
Mm.
learned in one of the interviews, and like I'm really following it up, and
Wow.
it's like amazing. Like it's like you love yourself, you know that you are amazing, you can do it. Once you said this thing that you can do it, then it's like nothing is pulling you back.
Mm.
Nothing will pull you back. Like if you
That's
say that
deep.
if you are your biggest motivation, yes, that if that's the thing, that if you are your biggest motivation, then nothing will pulls you back.
And I think that's important. Self love is important. But my whole thing is, why can't we teach ourselves to self love, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
one thing I've always struggled with was caring, right? Like I used to
Mm.
believe that in order for me to love someone, I had to prove to them that I cared about them first. I used to think that love was a visual thing, not an embracive thing. And I learned the hard way that's not the case, right? And when I didn't get that same love back that I thought love was supposed to look like, and it ended up hurting me more. And you just hit the nail on the coffin. That was perfect. You said self love is so important. You know, when you tell yourself you are more than a conqueror, you
Mm.
are wonderfully made in this life. You know, you tell yourself, listen, you're gonna get through this day, and there is a light at the end of that tunnel. Sometimes, you know, because not everyone's going to do it for us. You know, sometimes we have to see it for ourselves. And yeah, is it easy? No, it's not easy. No one said it was going to be easy. But I love the fact that regardless of the uneasiness, we have to continue pushing ourselves to tell ourselves, you know what, but it's not going to be like that forever. This is just for a season. And then it's not gonna be there forever. It's like winter. Winter is cold just for that moment, right? But
Mm.
once the winter transitions into the spring weather, then it's different. Now you don't have to wear the coat. Now you don't have to wear the scarf. Now you can take those things off. And you changing your clothes represents, oh, you're letting go of the fact. So every scarf or every jacket or every heavy item you have on represents something that you're willing to let go. And I feel like in that same way with winter and fall and spring, I
Mm.
feel like that's how life is too. So every
Mm.
time, everything you let go for that season represents a new beginning for you. So I think that's very important. But it has to start with you, and it's true. It starts with you. If you don't tell yourself you're gonna be okay, if you keep telling yourself I can't, I can't, I can't, then you're gonna start believing that you can't, you can't, you can't. You
Mm.
know, and I love the fact that you said self love. That's very important. Self awareness is important, and not everybody can do that. It's possible. It's not easy, but it is possible. You know, so I love that you said that. I applaud you for that because it's true. It does get dark sometimes in our life. It
Mm.
does, you know, and I just think it's important that, like you said, as long as we know, but then that's when we have to change our surroundings. So like what is surrounding us that's pushing us down in the first place? That's something I gotta evaluate myself now. Like, okay, wait, do I need this in my life? Do I need to be around this right now? Is this something I need, or is this something I can live without? That's when the self evaluation happens, so you can lead to the self love and the self importance and stuff like
Mm.
that. I'm not saying,
Mm.
oh, be conceited and, oh, I'm better than you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you love yourself, then yeah, you can love other people the same way you want to be treated. And I think that's important. And not everybody understands what that is. And I know in my life, I'm in a reflective seat because my father been passed away for 5 years already. But I'm learning so much about myself through my father's death, through my son, through my marriage now, that I
Mm.
realize I have a lot of stuff I have yet to let go. That I realize,
Mm.
wow, I'm still holding on to this. I gotta let this go because my son cannot see that, or my
Yeah.
son
Yeah.
cannot inherit that. You know, so
Mm.
reflection is definitely important because without reflections, you can't grow. I mean, that's just how I see life, and I think that's important. You have to self reflect, and through the self reflection, you learn so much about yourself. But your
Mm.
surroundings help you see things from a certain perspective. So they help you, not define you. If you let your surroundings define you, then you know you kind of have a problem there.
True. Like one thing one thing my father said in the first semester when I came to college, that he said that today the people you are sitting with in the mess, the people who are eating with you in the mess and on the same table, they will be different in every semester. And right now I am in my seventh semester, and I told him so many times that you were right, you were correct. Like
Wow.
in my every semester, I was sitting with different people, different set of groups, and from that thing only, I got the idea that I should know everybody's perspective, how people see other people, how is it like, because what happens in a general human being is that a general human being needs validation, like you said, that we never thought about self love and all sorts of things. That's what people were telling you, what people were saying to you. That was something that you wanted to perfect in yourself. You people generally start working on the things that you are not good at, like what people tell you, and then you work on that. That's not the thing. You don't have to take a validation from somebody. You know, you have to be valid for yourself. That's
Mm.
that's the that's the basic concept. And people, there is a give and take. One thing you said in between, I don't remember the exact sentence, but people, you said that you said something about sharing love, like the love you give them, you expect the same. Like it's in the general human ideology that what you give, you want to take the same thing, like give
Right.
and take process. It's not true. There can be a give and take, but that cannot be equal, because what you are
Exactly.
perceiving, the way you are perceiving something, might be on a scale of 1 to 100, but and on a scale of 1 to 100 would be 100, but what the other person is sending may be 50 or maybe a 60 from their side. So
Right.
you can't you can't scale the give and take thing. So
Right.
that's what was like sharing love. And the second thing you said, that you don't want to your things to be inherited with your son. You right now, what I see about you is that you are doing so much of the lives you are getting, perspective of every person. Today, what I see in you, to be honest, is like you are not giving what you had to your son. You're giving something better. You're teaching him basically to fight it. Basically,
Wow.
what I mean. You're teaching him to not, you know, if because you have learned it. Have learned something your way, and now you have to teach it to your son that this is what I learned, and you keep in your mind, and don't you know just seize whatever trouble you are getting in your way. So life is really a long journey. Like
Hmm.
you or us, we start having what I say. We start having so many tensions, so many stress in our head for even the smallest test in our lives, and we don't see that small test is just a point in your life. It doesn't even mean something if you don't even give your 100% in something. There might be some other thing that you are capable to give your 100% to.
Right.
That's how, because life gives you an average from a scale of 70 to 80 years.
Right.
70 to 80 years living a life is like a really huge deal, because from your parents send you to school at the age of 3 or 4, right? And you start your schooling at that age, and from that you start learning, and till the age of 80, till the time you die, you learn. It's what I think, and what I perceive from everything around me.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like I said, everything you said was spot on. So we're almost towards the end. So I guess I wanted to ask you now. You, after we pass on, future we pass on, and all this other stuff. What is one thing, what form of legacy, I guess you can say, would you like leave behind? In other words, what would you want someone, like people around you, once you pass on, stuff like that, what would you want them to remember you for? If there's one or two things that you say, hey, I want them to remember me because of this or that, like what would be those things in your eyes?
Like, to be honest, I want anybody who's around me to be just, remember me as a friend, as a companion, as somebody, who who didn't believe in the fact that how much I give is how much I want. Like,
Wow.
you know, I just need love. I want to leave behind love. I want to leave behind that companionship, that warmth, that thing that, yes, Anamika was the person who, till date, if I tell you, there are many people who have come to me and who have said to me that, Anamika, we started our writing career with your page, and, to be honest, because of you, we are, excelling at that. We know what to do. We have a good hand in that. We have a good hand operating things. We have a good hand in writing. We have a good hand in everything. Just because when, like, it's like somebody I want to be left behind. I want to be, in people's thought as like somebody who helped them succeed, who helped them get better, who helped them, be what they are today. Something who, like, basically, like, made them to gain a step up.
No,
That's
that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. No, I'm sorry. I was just reading some of the comments quick, but yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think that's important. You want to leave behind that legacy that people can remember you for, and that whole, yeah, I want people to see that after I pass on, and I'm the same way too. I want people to remember me as, yeah, I was that friend that was willing to go the extra mile for them. I was the person that I didn't care what time it was. If it was at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I know I could do it, then I would go out of my way to come see where you're at and have a
mm,
conversation, and let's talk about it. Let's pray about it. Let's just cry about it if we have to, type of situation. And in that same way, I think for me, I would like to be remembered as that guy that always had a heart to give back, always have a heart of
mm,
service, because I was never given things back. Like things were never like, I'm not saying I expect things in return. Rather, I just want you to remember me for being the kind of person that I didn't care if I got anything back. I wanna be able to be remembered for just being caring. That, like, be like, yeah, hey, I remember my father used to do this back in the day, or hey, I remember my friend used to do that, and this is the only guy I met that was willing to do these things because he cared about that person, or he knew how important, and or he valued that friendship. And I think that because I feel like love comes in different shapes and forms, and I feel like that's a form of love that is, I feel like it's missing in today's society, and it's like, we talk so much about love, but why is it so hard to give love, if
mm,
that makes sense? And I always wonder why that is. Like, why can't we show it to each other, even though we talk about it? And I think that's one of the saddest things that we face. I think today, now, it's like everything is so divided that it's like, I don't know, like, what do we have to do in order for us to stop being so divided like that? I feel like I think the key thing is this, right? If a lot
mm,
of us just be quiet more and listen more, maybe we can
mm,
see the bigger picture, and then we realize, okay, maybe it's not what we thought it was to begin with, but we have to be willing to listen and to just sit still and to really evaluate what's going on, because otherwise it's not going to work. And I think
true, true.
that's when it becomes a problem, you know?
Mm, exactly. Like, you know, the same thing that you don't need a validation. You know, the love you give should be unconditional. The love you give should be like, you just give it because you don't know you don't know somebody needs it today or not, because there are times that somebody is having a bad day, and something that comes out of you, like in compassion and love, this is what I believe is that makes the day of the person who had a bad day. you know
Right.
you don't know what's going behind the scenes of the other person's life.
That's true.
So just two words of compassion, that's for everybody. Like, I feel it like that way, that if you are having a bad day, there's just one thing you want to listen, is that somebody cares about you, or somebody loves you, or there is some small act they did for you. That only that thing makes your day like rising sunshine and
Right.
gloomy and night. You know. So that's what I think about, the love, the warmth, and all the things. Love is not hard to give. It's like it's people's choice. We can't deny it. We can't force people to give love. It's like their own
Right.
choice.
Yeah.
But if you love somebody, it's the greatest thing. Love is so pure. If you just give it, something in you yourself satisfied. You yourself are satisfied, and you yourself think that, okay, I did something good today. Like
Right.
it's the smile comes to your heart and your soul, and your soul gets satisfied. I don't know why it's very hard for people to do that, but it's a very simple thing.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I definitely
since
agree.
you found
Yeah.
your companion, somebody who loves you.
No, amen, amen. And as I'm saying, I feel like, love should be unconditional and love should not be transactional, if that makes sense. It's
Mhm.
like, all right, I'll do this, but I want this in return. Like, I feel like it should just be, hey, I want to give it to you because I want to, not because I feel like I want something back in return of
Mm.
doing that favor for you or whatever the case might be. But I think love should always be unconditional. But we put conditions on love, unfortunately, and
Mm.
I think it's based on, and I think culture has a lot to do with that.
Mm.
I definitely believe like love could be an easy thing if we just really just be quiet and listen more, because it's
Mm.
through the being stillness. It's in the stillness that helps us really understand. But we have to be willing to be still, because humility is such a hard lesson, and it's like, what else do we have, So
True.
yeah, yeah. So well, like we're already towards the end. Anamika, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me and doing this interview with me. I really appreciate you. For those who came in and left and stuff like that, thank you for joining us and having this amazing conversation. I guess I was gonna say, any last words? If you have something coming up, anything you want to plug in before we end the live, you could do it right now.
Like, first of course, I want to thank you, Andy, for giving such an amazing platform, and like Angela, who can't be here. I really want to thank her too for giving such an amazing platform where I could talk to you, I could share my word, my thoughts, and all the ideas. And to the people, before I leave, I just want to say that nothing is hard. Like yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody, and the person only said this, that it's hard just because you don't understand it, you don't get it, you're not on the top of it.
Mm,
When you understand it, you know what it is. It's not hard. You know, it's it's very easy to give. Like, basically, to give yourself is a really easy task. You know, conversation, having a conversation with somebody, or everything. Like, see, we didn't know each other till today, right? We just talked on text on Instagram. We didn't know each other, but today I have to take back something is I have to take back a friend in you. You know, I have to take back the thoughts you have, the knowledge you shared with me, and basically, to be honest, the knowledge I didn't even know I had because nobody, gives importance to a small spark in in their heads.
Yeah.
There is something in your head, but you don't give it a real importance. But
Yeah.
when somebody asks you questions, that spark, comes out. That
Yeah.
sparks want to speak. So, you gave me that platform. So, that's what
No,
I
no,
want to
I'm
leave with
truly
you. That
honored. No doubt.
do
And no,
whatever you
I'm truly
want.
honored.
Yeah.
No
I'm
doubt.
really honored on that thing. So, that's the
Wow.
thing that do whatever you want, do whatever you like. There's no stopping. Love yourself, and that's it. That's it, actually.
No, no. Sounds good. Sounds good. And thank you so much for just being honest with me and just having this conversation with me. Again, this is an honor and a privilege. This is not something that I take lightly. Like I take this with respect. And thank you so much for joining me in doing this because it's like 1:30 in the morning for you guys, right? It's like what, like
Mm-hmm.
2:30 now. That's what I'm saying. So the fact that you were willing to stay up late to do this with me on my time zone, I really appreciate it. Again, it's not something that just
Well, to
comes
be
easy
honest
like
with
that.
that thing, yeah, I'm a student, so it's pretty easy for me to do it at 1:30. That's why I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like 1:30, it's nothing for me. Like I stay up a lot late at night, so 1:30 was nothing for me. I still
Right.
have to do my assignments and also I'll stay up late. That's a
Yeah.
part of
No,
life.
I'm a night owl myself. I'm a night owl myself. Like I'll come home at 11 o'clock, but then it's like, okay, I'm
Mm.
still awake. It's 3 in the morning, let's say, and I'm still awake because I can't fall asleep. I said, all right, I'll keep myself busy until I knock out. But yeah, I get you. I get you. If I can get things done when I get things done. So yeah. Yeah, like I said, thank you so much. And I was gonna say, don't you have a live or something like that with Denise Williams tonight or something like that?
Uh, like I am having you are saying that live in on my account, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it's Cup of Inspiration, right? Isn't that you and
Yeah,
Denise?
it's my series Cup of Inspiration. Like I told you, I interview people. Like one of the episodes I told you about Soumya, I interviewed her and
Yeah.
she taught me self love. And there, it's a fourth episode. I'm talking to Denise Washington, and like I am really looking forward to it because she has a lot to share about Haiti and the
Yes.
migrations as well there. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to about her and her culture and everything.
No, amen. Yeah, I've interviewed her before too last season. We're already on our what is season 6. We're gonna be on in September
Oh.
starts season 7 of the podcast slash community page. Uh,
Mhm.
but I've had yeah, the season 6 I had was a season 5. I always mix up the numbers, but I remember I had Denise Williams. I mean Denise
Mhm.
Washington, sorry,
Yeah, Denise
live with
Washington.
us, and I've learned a lot from her. Honestly, so many things I didn't even know about that culture until she went live with us. So
Mhm.
that's definitely again, it's all about learning. So many stories we tell each other to learn. It's for knowledge. It's for to have a
Knowledge.
different and a better perspective of life. That's like okay, as difficult as we may have it, there's always somebody else that's gonna have it more difficult than me because you and I could experience the same event, but we might experience it and understand it differently. And
Mhm.
there's always more than one perspective to something. Because if something was just one perspective, that means we're not learning anything. So that's
True.
definitely important. So
True. True.
like I said, thank you so much. I will be uploading this onto the podcast. I'll send you the link and all that stuff. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for saying yes to us. And talk to you soon. So, guys, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, or in your case, enjoy the rest of your morning slash nighttime.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really honor.